Okay. Hello, Bob. How are you?
Well, hello, Douglas. I am just fine. Thank you very much for asking.
Thank you for coming on the show. It's nice to see you. Glad to have you here.
Well, I've been excited for a while. I'm finally here and I'm ready to go.
Well, that's nice. I like that. You're here actually to promote a book. Your book is called Mass Transit. Before we get to your book, though, I'm reading
Yes,
through your bio, and you were a professional football player and played for the Miami Dolphins. Is
for a
that correct?
short, yes, yeah, I had a short career, but I did. I made the NFL roster and made the team and played. Yes, I did. I was primarily special team. I was a backup player on defensive end, defensive tackle, special teams going down on kickoffs, punt returns, things like that. Yes, I it was a
Okay.
fun career. It was a dream come true.
Oh, I bet. Now, looking at you and trying to guess your age, I'm going to suggest that this was during the Don Shula days of the Miami Dolphins.
That and prior to that, there was the original coach was his name was George Wilson. He was there when the franchise started, and then Don Shula came in a few years later, and I was there 1 year with Shula. Yes, so
Okay.
it was in the early beginnings of that franchise.
Okay. Don Shula always just to me epitomized the perfect football coach. I always had a great admiration for that man.
Yes, he was a taskmaster. We ran certain drills, certain sprints. You ran, and if you were supposed to touch that line, you touched that line. You didn't miss it by an inch. You didn't miss it by a quarter of an inch. You touched it, or you went back and you touched it again, and then went on. He was about precision and doing things right all the time, and that's why he's Don Shula.
That's yeah. Yeah, he is a legend in football, absolutely. All right. Well, that's great. So then after that, what did you do after you retired from football?
Well, that was I retired. Yes, I did. I went back and I finished my education. I got my degree in business and in education. Then I got my MBA as well, and I entered the business world and I worked my way through with a large corporation in the oil field and drilling and power transmission industry, and worked as a salesman. Then I elevated up into top level management as far as a VP of marketing over some branches of the company. And I did that primarily through my entire career. And with about the last 20 years working, 15 years, I started taking nighttime classes, evening classes in arts and literature and writing, and knowing someday I want to put pen to paper and sell something. And so my career was basically sales management, and then studying the skill of fiction writing, which I did.
You're a pretty well-rounded guy, from athlete to sales and business to arts and literature. That kind of covers most of it.
I, well, in life, if you're going to go through life and you're going to be successful, sometimes you have to learn to reinvent yourself because sometimes the circumstances that you want to happen don't. And if you're not that flexible, you're going to find yourself on the outside looking in. And I had a family to feed, support, mortgage payments. So I found a way to make myself relevant to the world. And once you retire, you have to realize, hey, you're not so relevant anymore. But you can be relevant. Just go find something that you like to do and do it. And you have to find something that you can stick to, not just do it halfway. And I found writing is to be a particular avocation at the time. And then um, now I'm writing. I got picked up by some magazines living in Los Angeles, where I wrote for an athletic magazine, and I wrote for a magazine in Southern California, Urban Living, and I wrote feature articles for them on the side while I'm working. So I was honing my writing skills and taking writing classes and learning how to type. I had to learn how to type, of course. So uh, I I think the key to life is staying well-rounded and flexible and not being too rigid. I'm 76 years old, and I'm not about to quit.
Well, I think that's great advice, and I absolutely agree with you. You can't get stuck into one particular thing and say, this is what I do and I'm going to do it. And if it fails, you can keep trying, but you've got to branch out. I think a well-rounded person has a better sense of wisdom of life.
Yes, living 76 years, making a lot of mistakes, watching people make mistakes, gives you that wisdom, because I certainly wasn't born with it. I wasn't. I was born into a small community of coal mining people. My family were coal miners, so we learned to grit it out and work it through the hard times, through the strikes, through the lean times when we had nothing but nothing basically to eat on the table. And so I learned there was going to be something in life ahead of me than that. So I got out and found a way to get to college through a college scholarship and met the right wife that also was there to actually sometimes put a stern hand on my back and push me.
Oh, well, that's important. You got to get the right wife.
Very. So there were times where I thought I was going to quit, and my wife was right there saying, "No, you're not," and gave me another push. So I'm thankful for that opportunity to marry, and I'm 53 years of marriage to that same lady is keeping me going and keeping me active, and as she's active too. So and that's why I wrote the book, Mass Transit, and my character. It's all about somebody who's past their maybe younger life, but still has a life. And so I wrote it. I said it in the 50s, a little bit of nostalgia, but it's about keeping going, coming across bad times, and creating something else of yourself. And that's what my character in my book is all about. It's a female character, naturally. I like, and she's in New York, but it could apply to anybody as far as always having a goal to strive for. So that's the gist of my book, basically.
Okay, so the character in your book you said is female, but is her persona, is there a bit of you in there?
From that standpoint, that's a good observation. Yes, very good observation. A lot of it too also is a combination of my wife and my daughter. The nice kindness, gentleness is my wife, and the roughness, the toughness, is my daughter, who's a CPA in Santa Barbara, California. And so I bring them together. But I think overall, I think you hit a point there that I overlooked, and I shouldn't have. There is a tad bit of me woven through them, and I'm using them, but I think I'm probably hiding some of my feelings. And you're the first to ever point that out. And I'm going to keep that in mind.
Okay, well, I haven't read your book, but I just kind of took
No,
that as a guess, an educated guess.
very good guess.
Does your character in the book, what does she get up to? What is her purpose? What's her career? What's she?
Okay, well, she was a former Broadway actress who had an injury on stage and had to reinvent herself. She couldn't get back to the stage because of the seriousness of the injury. She became a Pinkerton, so she learned the trade of being a detective. And she's a very combative person in a way, but very likable in a way. And she eventually goes out on her own. And this is set in New York City in the mid 50s, where it's a very obviously, I'm stating the obvious, it's a male dominated world, especially the police force, especially private investigators. So she cracks into that business. And her first case is a Broadway case. It happens, a Broadway producer's daughter is killed in New York City, and she is hired to find the killer. It's a mistaken identity type of killing, but her job is to find the killer. And while she's doing that, she has a driver who's basically also working for he's the son of the producer, and his task is to drive her around. But once she once she finds the killer, his task is to kill the killer as a revenge killing. So we have a little bit of love, we have revenge, and woven into the story.
And some action and adventure, it sounds like.
Action adventure. The story is basically runs through the streets and subways of New York City. There's an ending that is supernatural. It brings together reality and the supernatural in the very big surprise ending, because Birdie she can't really catch the criminal. She knows who it is, but because another police officer is using the killer as an informer against the then starting Russian mob in New York, that killer's being protected by the cop. So she plants some real evidence, but in the meantime, there's a surprise ending that the supernatural steps in, and there's a big surprise ending to the book, which I can't give away. Well, no, it's not coming out till Thanksgiving, so I'm giving something away right now a little bit. But one of the big characters in the book is New York City itself. I've spent a lot of time in the city on business, on pleasure, and I love New York City. And there's a character on TV, used to be Telly Savalas.
Oh, Kojak.
He played Kojak, yes. And he made purposely, him and the production people made New York City kind of one of the main characters. So in my small way, I'm trying to do the same. I use New York City as a character. I play off of New York City. I try to grab the energy and the dynamics of the city and roll that into the story. So I make the reader feel like they're there and feel some of the tension, but feel like they're part of the city, living and breathing. And Telly Savalas' show did that. So in a small way, I'm trying to do that too. So.
Oh, well, that's great. We're just about out of time, but you said that the book is not out yet.
It's being released Thanksgiving Day, November 23rd, 2022. And it's right now, it's available for pre-order with Amazon, Barnes Noble, Goodreads. All the ebook sellers have it, in both hard copy and ebook, of course.
Okay, is this your first published book, or have you published other books?
I've had two more. My website is bobjoswick.com. I have two earlier books, The Circus and The Crib, which are two male people still set in the 50s in a coal mining community.
Okay, so those books related to this book?
Not at all.
No?
It's completely different. I started my third book having these two male characters, and about 100 pages in, I thought, this be like if I switched it to New York and I had a female. So I rewrote it from there, and now I wrote my second Birdie novel, and I'm just about finished with my third Birdie novel. So I have a series of 3 that I hope to have out. But
okay, so Mass Transit is the first in this series?
Yes, indeed, Douglas.
Okay, but you said that the other 2 are
out
and going to come out eventually, yeah?
Oh, the 2 others are out. Oh, yeah, they'll follow, and the 2 are on Amazon. The Circus and the Crib are already out.
Okay, all right. Well, we got to wind this down. Give out your website again, please.
It's Bob Joswick, JOSWICK.com.
And all the information about the books is there, and links to
information. You can link in. You can subscribe, and actually, if you subscribe, you're eligible to get a free copy of The Crib. Excuse me.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much for coming on this show. It was nice meeting you, and best of luck with the book. We look forward to that coming out Thanksgiving.
Thank you so much for having me, and look forward. Maybe we'll speak again sometime. Thank you, Douglas.